Ipswich Buses, your local bus company serving your football team. Buses run every 10 minutes. Avoid the traffic. Don't get stuck in the delay. Get Ipswich Buses today. A single £1.20, a return only £2. Find out more information at www.ipswichbuses.co.uk. Ipswich Buses.
I wanna be with you. 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 Let's go tonight.
Hello again, my friends, and you are my friends, and welcome to your Monday Night's Talking Town Extra Time. I am, of course, your host, Martin the Governor Lambert, and you are the wonderful and loyal ITFC fans that have not yet been rewarded with a win, but hopefully we can reward you with a decent show tonight that puts you firmly in control and gives you the power to have your say in your football club. There will be a live link incoming very shortly for you to smash, get involved. The chat is already going absolutely mental. I will come to that in just a second. But tonight's show, we've got more Bolton thoughts. We've got the around the world Graeme and Brooke with me. That guy's seeing Town at its highest. I want to say was Saturday its lowest point, but there's probably been others that you could put into that category. And of course, I've got the media mogul Matt Phillips. We've got the prediction league table after week 5. Only a small number of you got points at the weekend. So we've got that to look at, and the prediction fixtures for week 6. Obviously, Lincoln Ipswich is the one up, but we're also looking at West Ham. Must say West Ham, not West Spam. Under 21s tomorrow night. If you're a fan of a certain age, like I am, it's maybe a little bit of a slap in the face for you, because you'll be able to remember, like I can, great playoff semi-finals in England's second tier with West Ham. We're now playing there on the 21 side. I spoke to a West Ham fan this morning. I said, "You're playing us tomorrow," and he said, "Are we?" Because we weren't with his first team. He wasn't quite sure. He wasn't quite up to date. But hey, we are where we are, and we'll discuss how we got there this evening. Eddie Spaghetti says what is really missing is time. Time to get it right. Time for players to settle in the area outside of football and settle into the team and build a rapport. Good question. I'll put that to both the guys tonight. Is it missing time? And if it is missing time, how much time do you give it? That's a good question. I know Matt's is a big Paul Cook fan. I see what he thinks on that one. Jason Clayton. I'm happy to give Cook and the team and the team time, because the important things have changed. New owners and a brilliant CEO. Whereas Matt Stannard is worried about Saturday. Jason Clayton, the owners will not mess about. They have invested in Cook and will give him time. Just us supporters have to be patient, as hard as it is having your Saturday ruined every week. Mike D. As well as Cook's in-game management, Harper and Evans are the biggest concern. They're not up to it. Carroll needs to start. I know I've got the fisherman just frothing at the mouth for the link. He wants to get involved. Ben Moore says, get that bloody poster off. Hey, give that man half of what Cookie's been given, and not Ollie Hawkins, Aaron Drinnan, and Di Cornell. And you never know the sort of team. I mean, you got those bunch. That's last year's squad up to the playoffs before he was dismissed. So no, I will not be taking him off the screen. I will be in a second, but I'm going to leave it up there and rub some salt in. You know what I mean? Borrowed it from the Portsmouth fans. It's Eleanor. Paul Cook said, judge him after the Wickham game. But he said that so many times. Right, let's bring him in. He's hungover, so be a little bit delicate with him today and be a little bit quiet. missed you, Phillips. Welcome in. How you doing?
Good, thanks. It's been a very messy weekend.
Well, yeah, for everybody. Everybody's been a messy weekend. Yeah, on and off the pitch.
Yeah.
Off the pitch, first of all, our thoughts go to Alan Brazil after his heart operation. So, hope you get better soon, Al.
Big Al. Yeah, big AB.
Great player in his time. A great away day beer after the great guy. And that's Moth 1, Lambert 0 for those keeping score at home. The Moths were a talk on Saturday, Matt, at the game before the show went live. We should get a giant moth mascot for the show. But that's Moth 1, Lambert 0. Hopefully I can rally like Bolton did at the weekend. But FCA's vote closed today. I know that you're a big part of the show. I know we want to say thank you to everyone that's voted for us.
Brilliant. Yeah, thanks. I mean, look, what a surprise! It was even in the shortlist for the final. But brilliant. Everyone who's voted for us, fantastic. I mean, at the end of the day, even if we don't win, it doesn't change what happens here. You do the show regardless. The award that comes along is just like a bit of a bonus, isn't it, mine? It gives you a bit of credibility within that community and also sends one of these up to everyone who hates us.
Absolutely. At 9 p.m. Well, nobody hates us. Yeah. At 9 p.m. tonight, we've got a little bit of an away days town reveal coming up on Twitter. I will keep my eyes on that for you in the chat, and I'll grab it and put it on the screen as soon as I possibly can. To do so, we've got Mike D could have done with Moth at the back on Saturday. Ben Moore, all Moths, aren't we? The Fishermen, they're talking about Paul Lambert doing what with this squad.
Because of all these family functions. I only saw the game this afternoon. I watched back the 90 minutes.
No wonder you're grumpy this afternoon. Chris Boyd, 48 hours on, I've decided it's even worse than I thought at about 4 on Saturday. All thoughts with Paul Cook, but nothing this season has given any cause for cheer, and that's depressing. Sarah Davis, best podcast by far. Sarah, we love and appreciate you.
Thank you, Sarah. Thank you.
Matt says, are you going to the awards? Sadly not. No, sadly not. Do you want to say why we're not going to the awards, Matt, or did you feel that'd be a little bit...
let's just put it... It's quite lumpy, as I like to say.
Yeah.
To go.
need a second mortgage. Put it that way.
We're not sure that they've priced it right for the community that they're talking to.
Well, let's put it this way, right?
Yeah.
Rich likes to say quite consistently and constantly, the Gov don't even buy socks. So you think I'm spending the money they want on those sorts of I'm not paying $7.99 sock prices. Do you know what I mean? So, no, sadly not. But we are going to get...
If Rich was to go, of course, he probably wouldn't shop in Planet Blue again for the rest of the 12 months. He's not going to have that, is he? He's not going to have that.
No, he really isn't. But hey, I'm going to get us all together, all the contributors together, meal out, a few beers. That will get messy. Callie, we need that flag on display. Get Asher with a picture in front of it. So I want to touch on Bolton, but before we do, let's bring in. He hasn't got an intro. I just realised he hasn't got an intro, but here he is. He's been around the world. He is best winning author or top author. He does. He needs one of those, like Richard and Judy book club sort of intros. Here he is. Pulitzer winning. No, he's not really. Graeme Brooke. Graeme, welcome in.
How you doing?
How you doing?
Good evening.
Are you well?
I am just about calmed down from Saturday, I think. I slept on it till Sunday morning and didn't feel any better. Slept on it till this morning and still didn't feel any better, really.
No. Well, it's not often, Graeme. On the Sunday podcast, I say to Kate, "You're leading the interview today," because I am rather frothing at the mouth to have a few words about this football club. And I was yesterday. I was particularly angry. We got Ollie Prowse. Love the podcast. Love to see Morsey and Carroll midfield together. In my opinion, Harper and Evans individually are good players, just don't suit each other. James, welcome in. Good evening, lads. Is it true that there is unrest in the first time? Too many players you can't get in a match day team. You can't keep all the players happy. Callie, Matt, I got half down. Don't want to get stuck in traffic. Hate the A14. Right. Bolton, 5-2. Where do we want to pick up? You've both seen the game. Graeme, obviously you were there. Matt, you've seen it about this afternoon. Start with you, Matt. It's perhaps a bit more fresher in your thoughts. You're a big Paul Cook fan. Are you still a Paul Cook fan here at 20 to 9 on a Monday night?
Yeah, I am, but I don't know. I mean, it's funny watching the game knowing you're going to get an absolute drilling before it kicks off. But yeah, funny one, isn't it? I mean, as I said, when you guys texted me when I was in London, I was like, it's a gut of this because he's, every time this goes on and this long-awaited win takes ages to come, he's one step nearer to everyone questioning him and, is he going to go? Is he going to stay? Is he going to go? Do you know what I mean? Yeah, it was a funny one. I mean, look, I always say Harry Hindsight, the best football pundit after the match, right? But we were speaking about Edmondson on Friday night. He'll probably make his debut in that. But I wonder what he showed in training because, he was centre for three of those goals. And I watch a lot of boxing and MMA and that. We call it ring rust. He'd not played a game competitively since that Sheffield Wednesday game. And they just stayed up in the Championship derby, that 3-3, in the defence of Matt Clark that day. And then he had some minutes with Rangers pre-season, I think, against Partick Thistle, and one of some minutes against Tranmere, but not much. So not actually played a proper game for 4 or 5 months. And bloody hell, it showed, didn't it? I mean, him and Burgess. I mean, you'll remember this, Graeme, when Bobby Robson called Beattie and Hunter bacon and eggs. I mean, Everton and Burgess are like bloody cold porridge, didn't they? It was just all over the bloody shop. But I mean, look, I don't want to put Everton down because I'm told he's a good player. That's the first time I've ever seen him play. I'm told he's a good player. And they've probably spent, Peterborough wanted to buy Edmondson. They got put off by almost 1.5 to fronting up to 2 mil. Got put off by it. We didn't.
You see, I'm glad you've mentioned that because I was flirting with saying it on yesterday's show, and I don't think he was put in the best position to succeed yesterday.
Absolutely, because now you're absolutely right. Because you think back to it, so he's not had competitive minutes.
Nope.
Not done much.
And first impressions count, particularly in football.
So he must have shown something in training, but I mean, look, even Mick Mills.
Or was he just an answer to a prayer that Paul Cook was offering? Do you know what I mean?
I wouldn't rule that out. But even Mick Mills said, look, he looks shattered. He looks absolutely shattered. And maybe, I say Harry Hindsight. Maybe Harry Hindsight should have picked him for the West Ham game and just ease him into playing at Portman Road against what's going to be teenagers and a smattering of 20-year-olds. And in form a partnership with Burgess, just get him comfortable in that kind of environment rather than going up against a team that was lost 4 in 32 or something. Went from relegation zone straight to automatic promotion. Maybe that would have been a better thing. But I mean, look, Cook knows more about it than I do, and he sees him every day. But
he may well play tomorrow, though.
What's that?
He may well play tomorrow, though. Still.
Yeah, well, I think he should. I think a majority of that team bloody should. If you're going through a gelling process, I hate that now, the gelling process, and get as many competitive minutes under your belt as you can.
Yeah, but Matt, you bring up the gelling process, and I fully understand. We got rid of, when you look at the loanees and everything, we got rid of 24, 25, 26 players even, and we brought 19 in. But all we hear about is this gelling. And I fully appreciate the new players, new areas. They've got to settle in, get out of hotel rooms, get houses, just socialise with their teammates and become like a team rather than a bunch of individuals. But if you look, there was a list kicking round not that long ago of League One, the teams that brought lots of players in. And I think Morecambe were second on 18, Accrington 17, Bolton brought a lot of, Wigan brought a lot of players in. At the end of the day, they're not struggling to put a win together. I mean, I understand the gelling process, but no disrespect to those teams. You look at that list of teams that we've had from start of August, the Cheltenhams, the Burtons, those sorts of teams. No disrespect, we shouldn't be hanging on a prayer that we can beat West Ham under 21s tomorrow. We've suddenly tomorrow's games become massively important because 3 weeks, a month ago, Paul Cook said whatever it was, a pizza cup or whatever you call it, the margarita cup. He said that's the bottom of our list. It's fourth in our priorities. Now, when you look at that squad that's there tomorrow, we've got virtually the whole first team plus like a couple of the young Humphreys and El Missouri, but the majority is that team. And I think certainly the back defensive part, we need to start practicing. They've said Morsley's going to play tomorrow. We need to practice playing as a defensive unit because it's like like that little Dutch boy that put his finger in the dam and all the bloody water comes over the top. I mean, that's like our defence every week, isn't it?
Yeah, it is.
We've scored 2 goals every bloody match and haven't won a game yet. God, it's exciting.
The thing is that gel was mentioned, and that was a word that Cruncher banned in yesterday's show.
It's rubbish. Yeah.
But as Ben says here, should have got, and I said yesterday, should have gone with Wolf. If you talk about relationships, then Burgess and Wolf have that or had that, and Cook's game management is poor. But if it's about gel, Graeme, Newport County should have been the strongest 11 at that particular time because that was a competitive game. You could have played your 11 to gel.
Yeah.
You talk about gelling. Well, then why are you changing the only partnership your team has possibly formed in the first 4 and then putting a new goalie in behind them? Like, I feel like he's for a guy that says, I don't make excuses, Graeme, he's picking the excuse at the right moment of what he wants to use. How do you feel about it?
I mean, one thing that really I find massively disappointing, and I really feel for the guy because he's been really unlucky with injuries. But Kane Vincent Young, I mean, he got absolutely canned on Saturday. Gave one goal, gave a penalty. He was off 50%. But the guy, you know, I've watched him several times down at the Western Homes at Colchester before he came to Ipswich, you know, and when he was first with Ipswich. But the injuries have just like, I don't know whether it's lack of fitness or what, but he still looks fairly decent going forward. But I would never have thought I'd say he looks a bit of a liability at the back at the moment. He's a lovely guy, and I just want him to be in that team and doing what we know he used to be able to do. But I mean, I think that whole right-hand side, you know, him and Edmondson coming in and looking ring rusty, you know, sort of trying to get up to speed. It's not easy if you've got your fullback that's struggling as well, you know, and that was where like just a bit frustrating, you know. But I do feel for him because, I mean, you know, if you ask me, like, I don't really know who out of this current squad because I haven't seen them enough to make a decision. But, you know, if you'd have asked me last year out of the squad, who would I have kept? Who was even probably my favourite player? It was Kane Vincent Young, you know, and then, you know, so I'm not wanting to sound like I'm getting on his back. I really feel for him and I want him to succeed, but he's just having a hard time of it at the moment. And I think someone said before, we just haven't really got that time to gel for another, you know, I mean, I mean, I didn't see it outright, but I think it was a comment attributed on Friday or Thursday, whenever Cook gave his sort of interviews, but he came out with, it might not be till Accrington that we click, you know, and it seems to just get moving a bit further back and a bit further back. To me, coming out with that statement, that almost, maybe intentionally, but it almost lifts a bit of pressure off the team to go out and play against Bolton or play against Lincoln next week, because it's, oh, well, Cookie doesn't think it's going to be, you know, click into Accrington. But then if we and quite potentially, I don't like to be a doom monger, but we could quite easily lose to Lincoln. They're playing really well at the moment. We've then got Sheffield Wednesday. We could potentially go into that Accrington game looking still for that first win with this statement, you know, we're not going to click till Accrington. Then that heaps massive pressure as well onto the Accrington game. I hope he's right that they've clicked by Accrington, because I'm doing the 600 odd mile round trip up there and back. And God, if I do that, leave at 7 a.m, get back about midnight, and I've watched a game like Saturdays, I'll be pretty disappointed. Well, that's polite saying.
Do you not just feel he said that, Matt, as a way of sort of just buying himself a little bit of time publicly? That I've told you all, it's not going to click till Accrington. You know.
Yeah, but then that's a dangerous game to play as well, isn't it? Like Graeme says, we haven't had best results up at Accrington, have we, over the years? So that's
I wouldn't use a named match. You know, I might say we're not going to click for another few weeks or something like that. But to actually say we're not going to click till Accrington, if we go out there and lose 3-0, you're going to look pretty bloody stupid.
Exactly. That's why that was a bit of an error. I mean, sometimes maybe he's just being a little bit too honest. In actually, you know, yeah. I mean, we thought maybe end of September you might be able to start to see things, you know, Town in the top 6 or something. I mean, that's going to be a little bit longer than that.
I do think though, let's be maybe step back a little bit, because it's all too easy to criticise. You can criticise a manager because he's picking the team, setting up the tactics and everything else, just as easily as you can pick that goalkeeper that's been blitzed as well. But I think we maybe all ought to think about what Paul's gone through this week. With the death of his father. I mean, my dad died in May, and I couldn't bloody think straight for like the next guy. I'm still struggling to come to terms and pick things up and sort things out. So the guy's not only turned up, managed the team, however you might say, well or badly against Bolton, he's also faced up to the media, the press and everything. He hasn't shied away from everything. So whether we agree with how results are going and how he's performed this season and last season, I think you've still got to put your hands up to that, really.
Yeah. Mike D. Moth is taking cover part. Are you purchased in disguise? Yes, the Moth is certainly taking me to school at the moment. Something about taking people to school. Fisherman, here he is.
Hi, Mike. All right.
You've heard the opening 20 minutes. You've heard yesterday's show. What are you thinking? You said Paul Cook done, and for you, it's done and dusted. It's now just a matter of when, right?
Yeah. Oh, look, I don't want to say I don't want to give Cook too much of a hard time, really, because like Graeme just said, he's just lost his dad, and that's not the easiest thing for any human being to go through. So I'm gonna be very careful how I say things. But look, I wanted Cook. I wanted him to come in. I wanted him, but I wanted him to come with his team. I didn't want what we've got right now. We've got Gary Roberts, who didn't even have a coaching badge till he came here. I mean, he was at Accrington doing a bit of playing and whatever. And to me, that's we've got all these quality players, and we've got absolute crud in the coaching setup. I mean, it doesn't make no sense. We've got no defensive coach. We've got Franny Jeffers, that comes from the under-23s at Everton, which is a different thing altogether. Do you know what I mean? There is just no experience in the coaching. Cook's got no number two, and they're so important. They're so underrated. I was talking to Cruncher about it earlier. Me and mine, we had a bit of a sort of chat about it on WhatsApp earlier. But the reality is people keep, mine. You keep saying about, we don't need a number two and all that. That's utter rubbish. If you look, I've got a list of just a few managers, right, who've had really good success, and not because of their management themselves, because they've got people with them. Wenger, he had Rice and Bold. Fergie had Kidd with Clown, I call him. Kouros and Phelan, just to name a few. Robson, Bobby, he had Ferguson and McGibbon. Burley had Dale Roberts. Royal had Donaghy. And Royal's quote was, "He's not my number one, he's my number two." McCarthy has Terry Connor. Lambert failed without Calverhouse. Cook's doing exactly the same thing. It's this whole thing about we don't need a number two. Yes, you do. You need someone to whisper in your ear hole. You need someone to sit there and just go against what you're doing and just say, look, actually, no, I don't think this is working. We need to get this player off. Just have that. That yin and yang, and he can be the devil's advocate 1 minute and your angel on your shoulder the next. That's what a number two gives you, and that's what I want from a number two. I want someone to question the manager's decisions and support the manager's decisions, as well as work as a mediator between the players and the captain of the team and the manager himself. You don't get generals sending orders directly to the you don't get the privates, your low ranks or army guys talking directly to the generals, do you? You've got a chain of command, you've got people above you and stuff like that. You've got middlemen. And it's so important, if number two weren't important, why would Fergie, why would Wenger, why would Pep, why would any of these good managers in the world have a quality number two? They have them for a reason. Big Sam had Sammy Lee. He had him for a reason. We can't sit here and say, I'm not going to have it that we sit here and say that Cook doesn't need a number two. He desperately needs Richardson back. It's just another Lambert, Lambert has never been the same since Culverhouse left him. And the facts, we've got all that backed up with facts, and it's now happening with Cook. Cook has failed as far as I'm concerned.
Definitely.
Four
definitely.
wins at this club since last season. He took a Lambert side, which was shocking anyway. Right, that was in the top
And made it
six,
worse.
Finished lower than we did. Okay, dross with Northampton, dross against was it Wimbledon, a dross against Fleetwood. The end of the day is, and then we just same again this season. Bolton was the last straw for me. I don't mind losing. I have no problem with losing, but the manner of the defeat was absolutely shambolic. For me, the owners have got to step in, Ashton's got to step in, Neil's got to step in and say, do you know what, Cook, it's not working. All right, I feel sorry for the bloke, I really do. And I've got to give him respect for coming out and doing an interview. And I know that he said things that there were people are questioning, and rightly so. But the man is emotional. He's just lost his dad, and I get that.
Yeah.
But for Christ's sake, look, if he's going to stay here, and the owners and Ashton and O'Neill are going to keep him here, get him in. Get some experienced coaches in there. Get a defence. Get a McGreal in the back.
What about John McGreal?
We have no defensive coach. We've got inexperienced coaches. Martin, you can shake your head all you want, mate. I'm telling you now, this is what we need at the club. Until we get this, we are not going to win a game. I'm not going to sit here and wait until we win a game to Accrington Stanley. What a joke! You know, you've got teams, 18 players signed and whatever, and none of these teams have had this problem.
What I would say, John McGreal, 6 weeks ago, great shout. Now, that's a big threat. That's a big threat. Ex-legend coming back. And he was a legend in a good side. Coming back, having had a good year at Colchester in terms of the playoffs. I think that's more of a threat than it is a help to Cook at this point, under the duress that he is.
Martin, don't you think Cookie's almost backed himself into a corner here? Because like a few weeks ago, he said, I don't need a number two. I don't disagree with anything that Fisherman said whatsoever, but I do worry Cook going and then the turmoil and another sort of infrastructure and coaching staff and everything else, and you're almost sort of starting all over again. But I almost think like trying to bring an assistant manager, which I think Cook desperately needs, you almost wonder whether he's going to be too proud now that he said, no, I didn't need it. Then it's almost like although if it keeps him in a job, he might be open to it. And I hear what you're saying, Martin, about McGreal being a potential threat, but you have got someone that's really succeeded well as a manager. He is also an ex-defence star defender for us, and that is what we're missing, a defensive coach. You know, I mean, we can score goals. Yeah, and the big problem is every time we've got the ball, we look unstoppable. The first 5 minutes, 6 minutes till we went 1-0 up, we looked unbelievable, but then it was almost like we switched off. And as soon as we're out of possession of the ball, with the ball, we look like a top two team. Without the ball, we look like bottom of the table.
Absolutely.
I disagree with you, Fishman. I disagree. I do disagree. I think you're offering up the biggest excuse as to why we've not won a game of football.
Absolutely not.
Paul Cook did not have Liam Richardson at Chesterfield or Portsmouth. He was very successful at both football clubs. Didn't have Liam Richardson then. He's had him at Accrington Stanley and Wigan with him. That's the only time he's had Liam Richardson, if I'm not mistaken, with him. You're saying you're kind of doing a disservice to Gabe Roberts and Franny Jeffers without actually being a part of the bench to know what they're saying.
What has he achieved in his life?
But no.
Winners in this club, not third division, not third division bloody coaches. No disrespect, mate. But what has Gary Roberts actually achieved?
I ain't Gary Roberts. I don't care.
Football? Okay, he's achieved more than I have. He's achieved a professional game. We want proper coaches at this club. If we've got proper owners and proper people running this club now, we want proper coaches, not people standing and trying to make a living. Put him in the under-23s. People want about Kieran Dyer, right? No disrespect, but Kieran Dyer is not ready for first-team football. He needs to drop.
Well, he ain't now. No, he's a few years.
No, as in first-team coaching.
I know.
You know,
Martin,
at the weekend there was a time right after was it the second goal or the third goal? Yeah, we attacked and like Graeme said, going forward we look like promotion-winning team, right? But when there's five players attacking three of our players at the back, and you still got Raheem Harper still in their box, and we end up conceding a goal. What does that tell you about that player?
No, that's fine,
What
Matt.
the hell is going on in training?
Okay, Graeme.
Martin, let me play the devil's advocate here, because we're talking about do we need a number 2 for Paul Cook? What do we think of the 2 first team coaches, Jeffers and Roberts, and maybe sort of pushing back against Cook's ideas? One thing that absolutely mystified me on Saturday was you've got a guy that's been bombed out, that doesn't want to be at Ipswich by the sound of it. He's been bombed out into the under-23s, and you bring him on as a substitute over you've got a Premier League footballer that's supposed to be so promising, Louis Barry, who hasn't had a look in pretty much, and Joe Bigger, who was the second top scorer last year, and they don't get onto the pitch, and he brings someone on that, if someone can explain that to me so I can understand it in very simple words, I'd love to hear.
Well, something we often hear is we don't know what goes on in training. Like, Caden Jackson is still at this football club being paid a salary by the owners, and he's working hard Monday to Friday, evidently. Like, I'm not as upset as other people at that, because Caden Jackson scored goals at this level. He has done so, and the game was dead. The game was dead. It was over, unless some miracle was going to happen. It was a minutes into minutes, legs for minutes' sake, so we can say I'll put you on for 10 minutes or 5 minutes. What I struggle with the assistant thing is, Matt, is getting away from what we already knew about Paul Cook. When we got Paul Cook in charge, we spoke to Baz at Wigan, we spoke to Freddie at Portsmouth, and both said, great guy, great manager. The only thing I would say is he's 4-2-3-1 hell or high water, and he won't make a sub until it's too late off the bench. Which is the only 2 things currently really being his downfall. So what would even Brian Clough coming back from the dead to be an assistant manager and offering up all his tactical wisdom, if Paul Cook is that set in his ways that 2 fans from previous regimes have said, look, great guy, this is his down, nothing's going to change, is it not?
No, I do kind of agree with what Mike's saying in terms of like top managers with good assistants. I do get that. And I do think the expectation was that Liam Richards would join him. I don't think I just wonder if Cook was taken by surprise that he didn't want to move down from Wigan to join him. Then he's become a manager in his own right again there, hasn't he? And he's had a taste of that. Now he's got his own team to look after. So I do agree with what Mike is saying there, absolutely. In terms of, look, Phelan is with Solskjaer at United right now. Just shows you how entrenched and critical he is to from that Ferguson area that Solskjaer was part of into what they're doing now. But I don't know. I mean, let's not give Gary Roberts too much of a disservice, because he's one of the reasons why Molesy's come as well, because they played together at Chesterfield. So he said that was one of the hooks that got him in.
Or Franny Jeffers, who's coached in the Premier League, albeit on the 23 level.
Funny one, yeah. Jeffers is a funny one. Yeah, he hasn't got the bet. Since he retired, he hasn't kept his nose clean. Let's put it that way. So that's a bit of a funny one, really.
I'm just not. I'm just not. I'm almost like with Eddie Spaghetti here. I'm not quite sure how we quantify like this 10-minute chat about a number 2. Oh. Marcus Stewart scored those goals at Wembley. Not because of Dale Roberts. Dale Roberts was instrumental to George Bode. Do not get me wrong.
How do you know that, Mine? How do you know that he didn't?
Because Marcus Stewart's name's on the score sheet, not Dale Roberts' name. Right?
How do you know that?
A number 2 does not make Hadladke not drop across. Like, these are all things. They're all individual areas. They're all and as a team, we're just not at it. And a lot of it is off the bench. Raheem Harper and Lee Evans haven't been brought off once, I don't think, for Tom Carroll this year. Whereas you can make an argument that could be a substitution every single game in a rotation basis. They're being that poor as a 2. I
had to interview Grant Williams once when he was like the assistant to Phil Parkinson at Colchester, and he said number 2 is a perfect role. He said because you could just offer up ideas to the gaffer, so whether or not he takes it. So exactly. I can get what Mike's saying. Are Jefferson Roberts offering up the advice that Cook needs? If they're novice coaches, if you've got an experienced head like a Stevie Boulder with Wenger, he's going to be giving him information that he trusts at the moment. Yeah, I am kind of in the camp of what Mike's saying now. What is he surrounded by yes men? Has he got people offering up tactical ideas or substitution ideas, whatever it might be? Or is Cook just having to do it all himself because the 2 guys are so inexperienced? I don't know.
We're arguing about shadows because we don't know. Literally, you can't say whether Franny Jeffers has offered up 18 sub options a game in the last 5 games, or if he sat there and played Angry Birds. Like, we're not on the bench. We can't be seeing it. All we can say is what this team has played like, and that's dog dirt.
But people have told me who are sitting quite close to the bench are saying that they're not doing anything. All they're doing is talking to the players. None of them are saying anything to Paul Cook. You know, I mean, the amount of times that you have Carrick and Solskjaer and Phelan sitting there whispering to each other and stuff like that, they're making decisions. You used to see Wenger and Bold having chats. You see Fergie and Phelan and Fergie and Clown and all them have a chat. You know, Burley used to sit there and used to stand there alongside with Roberts, and they used to be chatting in game management. One of at the Burley show, he said the most important thing about being a manager is the ability to adapt during gameplay. Well, there's nothing to be. There's no structure. There's no adaptability. There's no accountability by the sound of it. Do you know what I mean? We've got. The thing is, we've got such a professional ownership and a professional behind the scenes now with Mark Ashton and O'Neill and all that. And what we have, it seems like we've got. I wanted Cook. I thought, he would be. I genuinely felt that he would be the ideal choice. But it was also on the proviso that I thought he'd be bringing in his own team. What he's brought in really is amateurish coaching. I'm sorry, but that's how I look at it. He's brought in amateurish coaching when we've got a professional setup there owning the club. We might as well right now just go back to Evans' era, because right now that's how it feels.
Yeah, no, and that's maybe a step too far. But Mike, very passionate points as always. I've got a few people want to come on.
Cheers, mate.
Love you as always, my man. Ultimately, whether I made a mistake about the assistant manager at Chesterfield and Portsmouth, but ultimately, whether we think Mike's right, Mike's wrong or not, Paul Cook will live and die by the sword of whether he got an assistant manager in or not, because his staff is his responsibility, isn't it, Graeme? He's picked those people, and to not have anybody else, defensively, assistant, whatever, it's going to be another reason for him to.
I think the biggest massive disappointment for me was I was ecstatic. I couldn't work out why the hell Wickham decided to call the game off, because I think they've got a couple of kids on the reserves that were playing for some Moldovan under 12s or something during the international break. I thought Wickham really missed a trick, but I was so pleased it was called off. Apart from anything, it means I can go in November, and I've got my tickets for that already, despite everything. But you sort of look at that, and the biggest plus to me was that they got 2 weeks uninterrupted that they could gel. They could have as much bloody hair gel and whatever gel they want in that fortnight and everything. Yeah. Looks like you've got a good lot on.
Oh, there. Always, mate, always.
Yeah. But they had, joking apart, they had a fortnight to really sort of figure out what was their best starting 11, figure out some tactics and everything else. And, to get absolutely smashed off the pitch on the back of that 2 weeks. And, there wasn't, apart from Selena, it was pretty much a full choose anyone from the squad.
Edwards as well was also.
Oh, sorry. Yeah, Edwards was a late pull-out. But, you're probably looking at, you should have been able to pick at least maybe 8 or 9 of what you would arguably say this should be my starting lineup by then. And don't take it away, Bolton absolutely clinically punished us, but so disappointing when you've had that 2 week chance to really sort of get things started up. And
it was, in terms of going sort of back to Edmondson, just some of the errors on the goals were just I think it was the fourth one, the Sheehan one, where he's put his hands behind his back, Edmondson, and Walton's made the save. He stays on the ground longer than bloody Tyson Fury did against Deontay Wilder till he gets back up and they just passed it in. Just weird. They were unlucky on the fifth one where it's Edmondson in the face. Burgess was flat-footed. He got the rebound in. But it was just weird. I saw the comments that Cook said, I don't want to be criticising players, and he did go a little bit Lambert style, didn't he? He said, what's with the negativity on the questions? Well, look at the league table and the results today. Tell you exactly why people are being negative. But I don't know, man. I just
want to share the announcement from our partner, Away Day Beers, as a little bit of a little bit of a bookmark there, if you like. I would have done, but I've lost it, so I can't. But basically, I know. Here we go. I found it again. I found it again. Here we go. Should be on your screen now. Away day beers. Ipswich fans, I'm excited to announce the release of 2 new beers designed in collaboration with fellow ITFC fan, the Kit Factor. That's the Kit Factor is the one that designed all those kits during the summer that everyone absolutely loved.
Talented.
Yeah, absolutely. The names of both beers have been suggested by some of you before after a poor start. It's the Walk to Victory and the Portman Road. Josh felt the perfect time to gear you all up with 2 new tipples, finished off in 2 of the most iconic town kits. Limited availability. I'm hoping there's someone for me for show purposes, so I can test it and put it on the show. Josh, if you're watching, but go to awaydaybeers.com and then basically get going, get buying these little tipples, because they will be good. I've got absolutely no doubt. Right, a few comments. We've got Adam Richardson. The team lack leaders. You can size many good technical footballers as you like, but hard-working, physical players who can mix it up will get out of the division. Tux really concerns me a little regarding the lack of Plan B. Formation needs looking at for me. Monty, honestly, when we went up in 4 minutes, I thought we were going to lose this game. 1-0 up with the 4 minutes, he thought we were going to lose the game. Stephen, did you feel after 4 minutes and 1-0, did you feel going to lose the game?
I was dancing with glee after about 5 minutes, but there's, at the end of the day, it's weird. This whole season so far has been weird. It's like been done in slow motion. It's like we're still building our team now when everybody else has got those and they're already, I think, some of the teams that have bought loads of players is a bit of a misnomer, like Bolton's had, like most of that team, a lot of that team started last season. Afflein was there last season. He's not a new player. He was loaned last season and they bought him. So he's not a new player. So he already knows how to play. And that's how a lot of these have been. They've been players who were loaned last season and bought. So a lot of they've been backups. A lot of the teams that we played, a lot of the teams that bought big players, they've either been backups or players they bought on loan from last season. So that's a bit of a misnomer. We had 1 player from last season. That's a vast difference. You could say at least 5 or 6 Bolton players were from last season, which makes a big difference between one who got pulled after 25 minutes. So
earlier,
we're still building, and we only stopped building on the end of the transfer window. And we got 2 players in on the end of the transfer who are going to be first-team players, I would say. Yeah. And we had a central defender play his first game yesterday, who's probably going to be one of our mainstays. The reason why Wolf came out and he went in is because him and Burgess are going to have to start and play. It's like we're having a baptism of fire while the season's already started. Yeah. We didn't have it in pre-season because they weren't here. We have to have it now. While there's points to play for, whether we like it or not, we're going to have to play some of them tomorrow. We should have played. I agree with Martin. I disagreed before. I agree with him now. We should have played some at Newport. We didn't. We got burnt. I think Paul Cook probably thought we could have got this band together quicker than what he's actually got it going. And I think he's struggling a little bit. I think he's thinking, the players aren't taking responsibility. And I think people are putting all the pressure and all the blame on Paul Cook when most of the problems have been caused by players making bloody mistakes. Basic errors. Not Martin, you can screw your face up. You talk about goalkeepers dropping balls. That's not Paul Cook's fault. Players passing. Kane Vincent-Young was ripped and knew it. As a right back, I'd have been embarrassed. Afflein ripped him and knew it. I saw Afflein play against Burton, I could tell you what he was going to do to Kane Vincent-Young. Yeah. Vincent-Young thought he was a winger. Afflein would have ripped him and knew, and he did do. That's why he came off and he put a right back who would defend, because he needs to be defended. And Kane Vincent-Young
but then you could, Steve. That's right. You're absolutely right in what you say. Afflein had Vincent-Young on toast. But we knew what Afflein could do coming into the game, so as did Paul Cook. So if you've got a defender there on the bench, could you have started with him? And I'll second that up with we weathered that storm. We went in 3-2 down at half time, but still in the game. Half time, 15 minutes. What did they discuss in those? Are they all just sharing wine gums, having cups of tea? Because they came out, fuck all had changed. That's down to the management team.
I think that third goal really did the business for them, because we just got back in 2-2. Macaulay Bond just missed that. Missed that. If that goal had gone in, I think the second half could have gone different.
Yeah, I agree.
It was such a killer where he missed, where it just goes wide, and then they score, and I'm thinking like it was like a heavyweight giving them a punch to and that was it. They were toast after that. Minds had gone, and second half was just like a non-entity. We just weren't at the races. He needs to get them in. He needs to tell them, look, at the end of the day, just quite frankly, I put a tweet out and I got ragged for it. I don't want style. Fuck the style. Let's get some substance. The style will come. Let's get some substance. I don't give a shit if it's 1-0 off someone's ass. I don't care if it's a drilling goal. Let's get some substance. Let's get some points. The style can come after. And that's all we need. And I got dragged for that. I'm thinking, why? That's just basically what we need to do right now.
Get yourself over the line,
yeah. I agree with that. I'm there at the moment myself, yeah. And I was one of the main McCarthy out people, if you like.
I think like you're right there, Stephen. Like I think Cambridge was like master his own fate a little bit because he did that interview, didn't he? Saying, I've been up against Selena all week in training. I'm going to come up against anyone like that in League One. Well, you did.
Yeah. And the top of it, he put pressure on himself by turning around and saying, like, I'm going to get better. It's going to be better. And then he comes in probably the worst performance he's ever put in. I'm really worried whether, when the likes of, I still say this, when the likes of Selena, Edwards, Chaplin, Aluko, who was a lot better, even though people ragged him, Barry, when they're all back, will Burns go right back? It's quite possible.
I wouldn't take Burns right back. I've actually got noted down in here where Afolayan was actually ripping KV White.
Maybe Denatian might go right back.
That Burns was doing exactly the same to that Liam Gordon on the other side, who spent most of his career in.
Right. But maybe in games like that, just play Denatian instead. Forget. If you've got a raging winger who's going to just attack you, just defend him.
Yeah, I agree.
These are Paul Cook's choices. At the end of it, I think Paul Cook I think he can do it. I think Mike had a point. I think he overemphasises the role that assistants play because if the assistant says something, the manager says no, it doesn't happen. Quite frankly, no matter what you tell Alex Ferguson, if he says no, it doesn't happen. I don't care what he's. You can shout as much as you like, you'll get sacked. And I'm sure these discussions have happened at board level. Like the board have probably said, do you need an assistant? Do you need help? And Paul Cook's explained why he doesn't. Yeah, and they've all accepted that, so we've got to accept that. He will live and die by his decisions. If this is a poor decision by him, he will go. Be under no illusion. People are saying, "Oh, well, players want him here because they came for him." Players aren't playing; they're not performing. If we're bottom of the table, Paul Cook's going to go whether they came here for him or not. And the only people to blame for that are them.
Yeah.
So hold your hands up and say, "Yeah, I came to play for him, but I didn't." That's why he's not here.
Decision making's a huge thing in there. I mean, even like Mick Mills was saying, I wonder what Luke Wolfenden's thinking now that he's played the games this season. Suddenly done appear at all now. Edmondson's in the side. I mean, that to me seems a strange one.
I wouldn't take Edmondson out though, because if Edmondson and Burgess are going to be the number two, the main two. If you take Edmondson out and put Wolfenden in, I think that's going to cause more problems than it'll solve. You're just going to have to push through this. It's going to be painful. It's going to hurt, and we might get to a situation where I said, look, this season we might just miss out, and we go for it next season. I'm happy with that because next season we'll have a better squad, we'll have a more balanced squad, we'll have a better squad, and it'll have gelled already, and we won't need to gel. Mm-hmm. But that's maybe where the owners were saying it might not be this season, but we'll do our damnedest. But it might not be this season. But
it's on this show.
Yeah.
Let's push through it.
But there's a difference between it might not be this season, we'll finish 7th, a point outside, or we'll finish 5th and losing the playoffs than there is currently where we're at. And that's having played what you would consider bottom 6 dwellers.
I agree. But if we
get smashed in all but one.
If we keep having bad results up until November and then do something like Paul Cook did with Wigan, when he was at Wigan and he had a poor first half of the season, second half of the season, there was only Leeds better than him. Then we get right back up there. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. Especially in this league where everyone beats everyone, we're right back in there. And then we just miss out. And then, as was commented then, Wigan was probably before they went bankrupt, probably one of the favourites for the playoffs. Mm. So, if you look at them hard enough.
Do you think, Graeme, they said patience, they say patience, but then there's publicly saying patience and there's privately, expectation. Well, surely a top 6 finish is the absolute minimum.
I would have thought you've got to be looking at a playoff place, but I mean it's very difficult. You look at these first 6 matches. Maybe Bolton maybe the score's a surprise, but the result maybe not such a surprise because they're on about 4 defeats in about 35 games counting last year. They've got that promotion momentum. So, but certainly the other teams, you would sort of say, well, yeah, I understand about it takes time and patience, but as you said, like bottom 5-6 fodder, you would have at least hoped would have had a win or maybe two wins by now. But I'm personally still in the cook in at the moment, just because I mean you've seen every time you lose a manager, you end up losing a whole infrastructure, and where we are at the moment. Even with the squad that we've got, it's bloody dangerous, isn't it? If we get rid of a manager sooner rather than later, you could almost have a Paul. I mean, it's not Paul Hurst Mark II, because when Paul Hurst did the rip up and get rid of everybody, he brought people up from Division 1 and Division 2 to the champion, where we've brought a lot of better players from down. But I still do have that worry. We're in the bottom 3 at the moment. You get rid of Cook in the next game or the next couple of games or however long, there must be a chalk mark on the wall where if we haven't won any games, they're going to start seriously thinking about it. But that could cause even more absolute turmoil, and we could quite quickly, as easily as was said about shooting up the league, we could quite quickly find ourselves entrenched in that bottom 4 and a gap starting to form, and then the pressure gets more and more. So at the moment, I'm still more on the cook in. I do have my worries about the experience of the coaching staff, but as you said, whatever they say, Cook is the man that sort of calls the shots. So whether they say anything and he ignores them or a bit of both, I don't know. I mean, I do have my concern. I think one of my big concerns is there's no defensive coach. For Christ's sake, you've got Russell Osman and Terry Butcher that live within 10 miles of the bloody training ground, 2 colossuses of defenders. You only need them to go into the training ground and talk to the defenders, and they would be like, my God, it's Butcher or Osman. And, they would listen to them, and that they've got a wealth of knowledge and experience that they could sort of bring in, someone like that as a defensive coach, one of those two,
I just want to say the point is, we don't know things like this haven't happened. We're talking about what we think it should happen. It might have happened. He might have got, McGreal's been to the ground a couple of times. He might have come in and had the odd training. No one's at the training sessions by the players and manager. So we don't know. We haven't got little spy drones. We haven't got a clue. So this might have happened and we just don't know about it. He's not.
Yeah, I'm actually talking about having a full-time defensive coach and, someone that's recognisable. We have a defensive coach, Terry Butcher, Russell Osman, even Mick Mills.
No.
All right, Steve.
The defending has gone. It's not the defending. The defending they did is not the defending that they have now. It's more positional based. You'd need to go younger. A McGreal or someone like that, you'd need to go younger. An Ambassador, 100%. Wonderful players. I enjoyed them immensely. But I think their time has passed for training. Yeah. I just think that's my opinion.
All right, Steve, as always, appreciate you.
Cheers, Steve.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much. Right, very quick. I've got Colin waiting in the wings to bring him in for his bottom thoughts and also West Ham, but very quickly, we're going to squeeze in here just with some prediction league. This is the league table after this week. Rob Smith is our new leader with 12. Mike Woods with 12. Trevor on to 9. Taylor Paul was another climber this week. He's on to 9. So I know, yeah. So there's a few on 9, a few on 6, and a great big number on 3. But there's still all to play for. I mean, it's only 5 weeks scores in. This is the 6th week, and the amount of threes. Look at Richard Moss down there, Matt. Look, just down there he is.
Have you got this in a Excel spreadsheet? Is how you work it out? Or you're just all doing it in a notepad and pen?
It's a notepad and pen, sadly. It was on Saturday night I was doing this. So this week, our fixtures this week are Lincoln versus Ipswich, Portsmouth versus Cambridge, Colchester versus Crawley, Norwich versus Watford. Last one makes me feel sick. That's an English Premier League fixture, but there we go. So get the links in the chat now for this. And the wild card this week, Matthew, is SIL, top versus bottom.
Look, Claydon are back.
Claydon, who are currently leaders, versus Leiston St Margaret's, who are last place. That is the wild card this week, my man. Colin, welcome in. Claydon versus Leiston. Very quick snap prediction from you. Who do you think is going to win that? The team leading it, or the team currently rock bottom?
Oh, in that league, definitely the team that's leading it was without a shadow of a doubt. Probably be about 8-1. Yeah, I know quite a bit about the SIL because Ian played in that for Newton for quite a while.
Nice.
I just want to answer this question. Martin, have a look at your predictions I sent through. Fisherman thinks you should have 6 points. Fisherman, if you've sent them to me and not put them on the actual link, they won't have been counted because I only take the scores from the link. Otherwise, people could be saying all sorts.
I read the small print.
The very small print. It's just by, if it's right at the bottom of the page, right by Richard Moss's name, it's right there. There's a little bit of it saying you should send it. Colin, Bolton.
Colin, you all right?
I'll give you the last word on Bolton. Summarise it for us in a few sentences.
Oh, I had the weekend to think about it and everything, but absolutely shocking result. Having gone 1-0 up so early, and everybody, including myself, was probably thinking, perfect start. But like everybody said, I hate to keep repeating that, what everybody else said, but just don't seem to be able to hold on to leads. I just don't understand it. I mean, we get 1-0 up, 1-1, 2-1 down, equalise, 3-2 down. And these are within like 30 seconds or a couple of minutes. We go. Brian Clough used to always famously say you're always at your most vulnerable after you just scored, and that's one of the most truest statements Brian Clough, God rest his soul, ever made. And Bobby used to say that occasionally as well. You are at your most vulnerable when you've just scored, but for God's sake, that happens all the time.
Interrupt you there, Colin. Just interrupt you. You're exactly right, because when I watched the game back today and the cameras panning in and going into close-ups, you could see where they were all celebrating. Edmondson going, just settle down, boys. He's doing that. Settle down. So he was aware of that.
Can I just say, Graeme made an absolutely marvellous point today, and actually I touched on that after the game on Saturday about the bringing Caden Jackson thing on. I totally agree with you, Graeme. I kind of touched on it on Saturday. You got the likes of the boy Barry, who's come from a Premier League football club, rated very highly in the Midlands, and God only knows what Aston Villa are thinking, him not getting minutes kind of thing, especially in a team that's, I know we're only 5-6 games in, but a team that's kind of struggling and he can't get minutes. I find that staggering. But I did say, and Gov will back this up, I did say after the game, and to be honest, Rich didn't agree with me. That's his prerogative. But I did say after the game on Saturday, I hope that Paul Cook goes strong on Tuesday night with Saturday in mind. And I said that straight after the game on Saturday, and I really, really meant it because, if you go back to like me and Graeme do, when we had 15, 16 players, if we'd have been playing, I know it didn't happen in our day, Graeme, thank God. But if one of Bobby's sides had lost 5-2 at home on the Saturday, and they'd got, say, a League Cup game on the Tuesday night before playing, say, Liverpool at Anfield, I know what Bobby would have done. Bobby would have put, if they'd have had a bit of a mauling, he'd have put that team, or what he classes his best 11, out on that field again on the Tuesday night, maybe against the lesser side in the League Cup or something like that, pre a trip to Anfield or Allen Road or somewhere like that, and he would have got that, continuity going, ready for the big game on Saturday. And that's exactly what I meant on Saturday when I was talking about it.
Good logic. Agreed.
The question I've seen in the chat, though, Matt, with that is if you do go strong...
I got annihilated.
No, but I don't think anyone here disagrees with that. But the questions in the chat, Matt, is if you go strong tomorrow night and you get beat by the under-21s of West Ham, then what for Paul Cook?
Yeah, absolutely. Well, I mean,
to be honest with you, Martin, to be honest with you, Martin, me and Rich had this conversation, and like I said on Saturday, and I totally say it now, everybody's got their own opinions, and I totally get that. But having sat on that, what Rich said, and quite rightly what he said to me on Saturday, I got that, but I've actually thought about that. I mean, if like what you've just said, which is exactly what Rich said, happened tomorrow night, it's we can't judge what's written in the stars. We're not mind readers. I totally get what you're saying, Gavin. I totally get what Rich said. But I mean, if we did play what we classed as our first 11 tomorrow night and we got beat, say 2-0 or something like that, so be it. You've just got to go with it and then go with it again on Saturday. Yeah. But I do get what you're saying, Martin, but I personally think a good, very, very good, strong side tomorrow night, I don't think that'll happen, Gav. I really don't honestly think that'll happen. I seriously don't.
Yeah,
I just want us to get that win, Gav.
He's in full swing as the old goat. He is not happy.
Well, he's got to take a risk, isn't he, Colin? You could sit there and just play it. He's not in the mindset where he can afford to be conservative. Managerial reigns. You have to take a risk. Fergie could have got the elbow at United in '86 because the results weren't going against him. He took risks and they won the cup. Cook's going to have to take a risk and play a really strong side just to give the supporters a little bit of a feel-good factor. And, they are playing 20-year-olds and teenagers tomorrow. We'd expect the team that he's been and the squad he's put together to be able to put in a good performance against them. He's going to have to risk it. He's going to have to.
Well, on that, let's look at your team for tomorrow then, Matt, and let's see what people think. So your team tomorrow is, as on the screen, we've got Bolton in goal, Donatian, Edmondson, Burgess, Penny, Carroll and Morsey, Barry, Chaplin, Aluko, and Piggott. Talk us through that. You're thinking there, Matt, and then Graeme, I'll ask you after Matt's finished, what you feel on Matt's team there.
I don't know if you guys spoke about it probably spoke about it post-match Saturday and yesterday, but I mean, Bolton is coming off a debut where he's letting 5 goals. That's going to, we've already got one keeper with not very good confidence in his Ladke right now. So I think Bolton has to play just to get that albatross from around his neck. And Donatian, as Graeme was saying earlier, solid defender. I'd play him. Burgess and Emerson needs to form a partnership. At the moment, they're a million miles away from it. So this is a perfect game for them. And as I was saying earlier, I do feel like maybe this should have been the Edmondson debut game, just to ease him in easier. I put Penny in earlier, but maybe I'm thinking now on the back of what Colin's just been saying, maybe Coulson should be in there. So you play the 4. That'll probably start against Lincoln. You play the 4 with the keeper there. But I'll put Penny in for minutes. I think Carroll will come in. I'm not convinced of Evans or Harper particularly. I don't like those as a 2. Harper was again anonymous on Saturday, wasn't he? I mean, Mick Mills, we've barely mentioned his name in the commentary. He just goes missing, which Chris from West Brom, my pal, told us could potentially happen, which is why they got rid of him. And in Morsey, we know he's going to play, and he's probably going to be the captain. And I thought Aluko played well at the weekend, albeit, he had some nice touches. He could find a blue shirt with a pass. But he could go. I'm going to put him on the right-hand side because that's where he played the majority of his games in his career, and also for Reading, which was his last club. So he's gone there. Give Chaplin another turn at 10 because Selina's not ready, and give Barry a chance out on the left, and then just bring in Piggott and see how he performs. And bag a couple. He needs goals at the moment. I still think he's Sam Parkin-esque. He needs goals, and a couple of goals at Portman Road, that aren't penalties or whatever, or disputed own goals. Might do his confidence some good.
Okay, Graeme, 3 big shouts there from Matt, I feel, which is Donatian, Carroll and Morsey and Piggott. What do you make of those 3?
I've basically got pretty much the same team as Matt. The differences that I've got is KVY playing.
Well, I've got your team here. Yeah, I've got your team here. There you go. Pen and paper, old school, love it. Talk us through it.
Yeah, so I've got KVY playing at right back because I think he had such a poor game at the weekend. I think putting him back in tomorrow night gives him a chance to get his confidence and his mojo back a little bit. And also, just within mind that Donatian, whenever he has come in, wherever he's played centre back, full back, or whatever, he hasn't let the side down. So I think could be mindful that let's try and get KVY going again tomorrow, but also rest Donatian to use him at Lincoln if need be. If KVY doesn't come up to scratch tomorrow. The other difference, I think Matt had Chaplin in the side, didn't he? I think from recollection. I would go. I've heard that Norwood is chomping at the bit again, saying that he's fit and looking for like one of these sorts of games. And obviously we ain't got League Cup games to go because we've thrown that away again like every season, like we normally do. So I think Norwood would be a good shout to also try and get Cook playing a different formation, so you've almost got a plan B that could work. And when we have played two up front, we've looked quite likely again. So I would give Norwood some match time. I mean, again, he's one of these types of characters that you would hate to have against you playing for another team, and he revels in pissing off the other side and putting himself about. So maybe we need one or two of those type players back in the starting lineup. So I think it would be good to get him some match time tomorrow. And as Matt said, Pigott was like right at the top of my shopping list when we were looking for players in the summer, and it was a coup to get him ahead of a lot of championship sides. So I really believe once he gets one or two goals and gets going, Bond's got to be the person in possession at the moment. But I think Pigott, will be, and hopefully Norwood as well, will be able to sort of, put that challenge down, because we go back to the government, you look at the opposition. So if Bond hasn't really got anyone to challenge him for that starting lineup place, it's a bit like the Tories haven't got much competition from Labour at the moment. Let's give Bond some competition and keep him on his toes.
Okay. Perfect. Colin, you've heard both teams. One's a formation change. You want a strong lineup. So how would you attack with it? Would you go 4-2-3-1 still? I mean, I get what Graham's saying and thinking there, but is it worth coming away from the 4-2-3-1 if you're going to play it Saturday, or do you literally take the team from Saturday, as you've said before, and just put it into this game tomorrow?
Yeah, exactly. That's what I'd do. Like you said earlier on, Martin, and I totally agree with you. He doesn't like to go away from his formation. I think for right now, I think he should. For now, in the present, I think he should stick by what he knows. Like I said a little while ago, I understand what Graham's saying. I've heard that about Norwood. Would I do that tomorrow night? Probably not. I'd probably go with Bond tomorrow night. Hopefully, he'd get loads of chances, put maybe 2 or 3 away, and really, really be on top form for Saturday, which is the game that we're looking towards. I certainly wouldn't play Chaplin tomorrow night. He has been not brilliant for me. I was very, very excited about when he got signed, but the last couple of games I've seen him play, he's not done it for me, to be perfectly honest with you. Just now, I'm not so sure I'd play him tomorrow night. I think I'd give Pigott another go, if I'm honest. Pigott and Bond. If he wants to go with Norwood, fine. But I would prefer to see Bond the back four. Like Graeme quite rightly says, I'd like to see him give KVY a lovely joke, because he was shot on Saturday. And it's no good doing to KVY what he did to Haladsky on Saturday. And I mean, if Haladsky has not got a knock or something, I thought, and I'm like the fisherman, You know, I feel desperately sorry for Paul Cook. I lost my best friend, who was my father, and I'm not going to knock a man. I'm not going to knock a person when he's down. But one thing I'd like to say is I didn't understand what he did really with the lad ski. I thought that was a real kick in between the legs, but for that man when he was really, really down, and then he takes him completely out of the firing line. I'm not so sure about that, but like I say, I'm not gonna shout about Paul Cook today because that's not what he needs to hear. Okay. I want that man, and if those players are listening to this, I'll tell you what, you should have done it for him on Saturday. Go out there tomorrow night and play for that man. Play for how he feels. You players, listen to me. You play for that man. I used to run sides and I used to have team talks, and when people have lost people and that, and I used to say to the players on a Sunday, and I used to say, "Go on, go there," and I used to get that, and if these players are listening to that man is really, really down at the moment. I know how that feels. So does Martin. So does a lot of people in this world. And just have a look at yourselves in the mirror tonight and think to yourselves, what did you really do for him on Saturday? Apart from 2 or 3 of you, not a great deal, And you should really, really, really take a good look at yourselves, because most of you are decent at this level, more than decent footballers. But you never shew that to me, Gov, Rich, or anybody else on Saturday, and you all know that. So go out there against an under-21 side tomorrow night from the Premier League and show what you're about. Get 3 or 4 goals for him. And you defenders, defend right, and don't concede any. Win the game 3 or 4-0. Send a man home happy. For me, for Gov, for Rich, for Matt, for Graeme, for every Town fan, and especially for Mr. Paul Cook.
Yeah, absolutely. Well said. Very well said. And also for Stephen Neal, who will be with me tomorrow night on the Matchday Ticket Show. Neil, I've made give up playing football. Actually, you mentioned running sides to watch this team this year, and I do feel guilty at this point, having done that. So, score predictions, David, with the super chat, £5. Thank you very much, David. Great show as always. Thank you, David. We appreciate that. So, yes, score predictions. Colin, very quickly, score prediction, please, my man.
I'm going to go against what I just said, but I think it'll be 3-1 to Town.
Okay. Mr. Ipswich Town, Colin, I wish I felt down like you, but I'm not feeling anything more surprised. I'm done complaining, to be fair. Winning the league will be surprising, sorry to say. Graeme, score prediction from you, please.
3-2.
To Town?
Yes.
Okay, good. Well, you never know. Matt, score prediction, please.
Yeah, I'm gonna go win, and hopefully we'll see Morsey with the captain's armband and maybe bring a little bit of that steel in that we've been talking about. So a comfortable 2-0. I predicted that for Saturday as well. 2-0.
Yes. And I did warn you on Friday, when a chat is unanimous in a confident win,
yeah, you did say
the
that,
wheels come off.
Yeah.
And they did well and truly come off. Whereas see this one, we've got a West Ham win here, 2-1, or another West Ham win. So yeah, I'm a little bit more confident about tomorrow night, just based on the fact that it's not a unanimous decision in the chat.
Martin, did you listen to all the predictions from the 5 Mascots before the game on Saturday? 3-0, 4-0, 3-0.
Oh, bless them.
Graeme, can I just say one thing to you? When Gov was saying earlier on about playing West Ham, I did actually put a bit in the comments about I could remember us playing West Ham in FA Cup semi-finals, and we'd have won that if it hadn't been for a man called Mr. Clive Thomas.
Yeah.
Remember him, Graeme?
Yeah, hit the side netting, didn't it? And he gave the goal.
I'm not going to say the word that I'd like to call him, because you can't really do that on Gov's show. But at Stamford Bridge, at Stamford Bridge in that replay, Graeme, was the worst coach trip home I'd ever had. That was the worst coach trip home ever with my father, that was, from Stamford Bridge that night. Terrible.
Matt Wing asks, is it on iFollow? It is, I think.
Yeah, it is,
because it's not like the Carabao Cup. It's not got a reason not to be. So I think it is.
It is.
Stephen says cheat. Mark Rattle says turd. This is about the person you mentioned there. Ben says see you next Tuesday. And Mike D says about the mascots predictions there, Graeme. I had to cover my ears because the PA system was so effing loud, and it is. If you sit in the football stand, it pins you to the back of the stand. It is ridiculous how loud that is. But so Graeme, actually, yes, Graeme, you're in the know. If you could kindly take that to the ownership, please. That as I can't speak to the person next to me at football, and somebody in the North Stand can't hear the PA system, how about we do a deal? Turn the fucking thing off altogether, right? Boom. You can't hear it. I don't want to hear it. No one hears it. Bish, bashed, boshed. Because at the moment, it's so loud in my stand, just so Callie in his stand might hear a little bit of Foz say, who's just scored for Bolton. But
Can they not turn it off in one stand and leave it on in another? Because then if we turn it off in your stand, you might hear the speakers from our stand.
Exactly. Where do you sit?
I'm in I block in what's it called now? The West stand that was the Britannia.
The Magnus stand. Yeah, the Magnus stand.
Oh, that's what it's called now. Yeah.
The Pioneer stand, Graeme. The Pioneer stand.
The Pioneer, yeah.
The Matt Phillips stand. Right, we're back tomorrow, 7:15, with the match day ticket. Myself, Stephen Thompson, Neil Moles, join us. And then, of course, at full time with the Fans React show. Anyone going to Portman Road with their free ticket, do join us on the show.
I've paid £10, Martin.
I'm surprised you're paying for any tickets these days with your connections. So join us before the game. And, of course, after the game, as you come out of Portman Road, hit the link, get involved. Ben Moore says to end the show, I tried talking to my dad who was sat next to me. I gave up trying. I was trying to get out the curry afterwards. Brilliant. Right. Back tomorrow. Graeme, Colin, and Matt. As always, a real pleasure speaking with you all. See you tomorrow, 7:15, with love, with care. See you then.
We're on a journey, looking back on the things that we've taken for granted, but feels like we're learning to be better without what's been holding us back now.